welcome to another edition of the 20 by 44 Life, a pickleball podcast. A little bit of a road show here today. I am on the road, so we're keeping the lighting good and hoping everybody enjoys this. I do have a special guest with us today, Lee Elias, joining us for his first pickleball podcast here, first pickleball discussion. But Lee has been around the hockey world, multiple different businesses, multiple different adventures, we'll say, between Our Kids Play Hockey podcast, hockey wraparound, getting him into the pickleball world now. He is also one of our co-owners of 20 by 44 Life. So welcome, Lee.
Hey, thanks I'm so excited to be part of your pickleball podcast. I've been practicing saying that for days, but no, Brandon, look, it's great to be here today. I'm so excited to be part of this kind of family that we're creating. And I want to welcome you back from down under, because you've been traveling a lot, my friend. I love that you made the time to do this. Like you said, you're still on the road today. But I love how dedicated we are to this project, to each other, to this sport, and the growing nature of it. I'm gonna say it again. I'm proud to be part of this pickleball podcast. Everybody at home, try and say that 5 times.
It's a tongue twister. Look at me; it's already got me tied up. But no, I mean, pickleball is addicting, and we'll get into a little bit of that of if you've been on the court and things like that. We'll throw that at you. But pickleball takes over a good majority of life. Like you said, I'm on the road. Just came back from Australia, traveling around. Whether it's pickleball relative or not, the game gets addicting. You're looking for a court everywhere. And on that note, I do joke with everybody that, this isn't the first episode here of 20 by 44 Life, but I'm still getting the question. I know you probably are too. 20 by 44. Where'd you come up with it? What is it? What did we do? We didn't just throw numbers at it for everyone's knowledge. Do you want to jump into where 20 by 44 came from? I'll let you take that.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting. Whenever you're deciding a name for a company, like it's so hard because you want it to be unique, but it's also got to really explain what you're doing, especially in today's marketplace with Google and the way people search for things. If you come up with too much of a unique name, they might not find you. And, our goal with this company was to tell a story within the game of pickleball, but also to build a paddle, to build something that people are going to want to be part of. Right. So when we were looking at names, the obvious ones, Dink, things like that, they're gone. Right. They've already been taken, but no one had taken the dimensions of the pickleball court, 20 by 44. So we chose that. And again, 20 by 44 Life, right, is kind of the aura of what we're doing, because we knew that people in the game would probably understand what that meant, right? And then beyond that, again, these aren't the numbers we wore in college when we were playing hockey or anything like that, right? Like it denotes that look, we have a clue. We have people that have a clue with what we're doing. So when you see 20 by 44 Life, again, it explains the brand. It explains the aura of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Number one. Number two is if you know, and that's kind of what we want to do. And then I think the third part of it, Brennan, and this is why we're doing the podcast, is, well, what if you don't know? Well, we want to create a community of people that are going to invite you to know, right? We want to bring you on this journey, whether you've never played pickleball in your life, or if you're someone who's a professional pickleball player like you. And I think that the community aspect of pickleball and everything that I've seen is something that I really love. I'm not negating the competition and the very high level of competition you see sometimes at the pro level. I mean, it's fun to compete, but like pickleball is a game for all, right? And in ice hockey, like not everybody can skate. I can teach people to love the game, but if you can't skate, you can't skate. Everybody can play pickleball for the most part. So that's why we came up with that name. We think it sums up not just the game, but the aura of what we're trying to accomplish here as a business.
No, and we have to remember we may have a bit of a global scale too. So I've had a little bit of a running joke, our first time talking about it, Lee, but we're operating in feet here, right? We're not in the metric system. So right. For anybody listening that I've had the few questions. Well, 20 by 44. Yeah, we're not going out to the decimal points here in the metric system. So maybe a little bit of an option down the road for a little bit of a play on our podcast.
That'll be a T-shirt we make in the future. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a good. Hey, type in the metrics, blah blah blah, point blah blah blah, x blah blah blah, life. That
see where that gets us. Talk about a tongue twister now with a pickleball podcast. It'd be the same thing with that. But No, yeah. So, I mean, 20 by 44 life, we want to bring everybody together. You've done a great job of that in the hockey community side. So for those that are listening, first, obviously we both have a shared hockey background, different journeys, but a shared background, love of sport and love of hockey to begin with. You've taken that a step further, building, hockey wraparound, which I'm gonna have you touch base on what that is for those that may not be familiar. Right, we may have a lot of pickleball listeners that are not familiar with hockey, ice hockey for those that are global, and we're not talking field hockey here. But basically going into that and where that came from, because obviously we're trying to innovate in the pickleball space, right? We have our EL paddle that's out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some unique technology in that, trying to just further advance the game for whether that's a beginner or a pro, a product that's for everyone. But hockey wraparound, you were a player, you were involved in hockey forever. Where did that journey kind of come from?
Yeah, I should also mention you can check out that EL paddle at 20x44.net. Did that very deep in the microphone.
You did.
You can do that at any point during the podcast. You can check that out. No, hockey wraparound is one of the great passions in my life. So I found hockey, or really dove into hockey when I was 12 years old. I had been ice skating before that. I really enjoyed it. I had a gift for skating. Anyone who knew me as a kid would tell you that I could just skate. I could just do it. And I'm nothing but gratitude now to the gods for that, because to jump into a sport like hockey at 12 years old, and then to have the opportunity to go kind of the minors, to go to places that were professional, to play with professional players, within a 6-7 year period, really is a gift. But I fell in love with that game almost immediately. I mean, within a year of playing, I realized this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And as I got older, at 15, 16, the dream is to be a player. But as I got older, I went to college, and I don't want to say I got to the end of my playing journey because I still play, but you start to realize where you rank in the grand scheme of things. I went to undergrad for broadcasting. I have a sports management master's. I started realizing I can stay involved in this sport forever. It doesn't need to be just playing. So again, I had a lot of coaching career. I still do. Professionally, which again, I'm very blessed to be able to do. But when my wife was in the Air Force, we were stationed in England, and another young man at the time, Matt Eastman, who is actually another one of our Kona owners, and I got our heads together, 2 male military spouses, lowest rank in the military. And we had this idea of what if we can really master putting something on the bottom of an ice hockey stick that would allow you to play with it outside. And for those of you who don't know, top-end ice hockey sticks are $350, even more now. And you cannot use them on concrete. If you drag a pro stick on concrete, it's going to literally destroy the stick. But kind of taking the ideology of football players carry a football, basketball players carry a basketball, baseball players carry a baseball. I want to use my stick. So long story short, we developed several versions of it, but got to the version we have today, which is a privately formulated plastic you put on the stick. It is sold globally. It is a very high performing product. I always say this carefully. During COVID, which was the worst thing ever, all of the rinks shut down, and suddenly everyone needed our product. So that we had spent 5 years developing it, but that put us on the map, and today it has become a household name in the hockey sphere. But to your point, the way we built that was not just a great product. That's part of it. We're emulating that with 20 by 44 with our paddle. We want them to be the best that they can be and have them evolve to be better every single day. But it's all about the community. From day one of Hockey Wraparound, we told our community, we told our followers, which wasn't a lot back then, we're trying to build this. We're trying to make it better. We need your feedback. And we've always had that back and forth with our audience in a super authentic way. And today we have tens of thousands of people following us, and not to mention just the global purchasing audience, which is well over hundreds of thousands of people. But that's really, I think, the key to our success. We based it in trust, authenticity. We were never just like, buy it and see you later. If one of them in the early days especially broke, we replaced it. We talked, how did it break? Send it to us. We want to look at it. Right. I think people really understood that, oh, these are really genuine people. Like they're not just trying to steal my money. Now, today, it's very, very rare that one will break. I'm going to be honest with you. But if they do, it's still the same process. Well, what happened? How did it break?
Yeah.
And again, when we looked at 20 by 44 as a business, we have this 10-year now experience with wraparound that we felt we could apply to the pickleball world. But with what we're developing, it's the same process. And again, you and I know this, but for the audience, our product is really high performing and high profile, and we only want to make it better. Right. But we're taking that approach of, get it. Tell us what you think. Give us that feedback. Grow with us. Because when someone's holding a 20 by 44 paddle in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, I want them to feel like, hey, we've been a part of this, like growing this. And now it's the best paddle in the world. Right. And that's kind of our goal, right? It's just to continually make it better. It's not just to get you to buy a paddle and see you later. So wraparound has
the love of the game.
That. Yeah, absolutely. And look, the passion I see in people for pickleball, there's another tongue twister.
You're throwing them all at us today.
Right. You can tell I do this sometimes. No, that passion reminds me of the hockey passion, right? And you know this, buddy, like the hockey passion's it's another level. I mean, there's a saying that hockey's not something you do, it's something you are. And I'm seeing that in pickleball, right?
It becomes a part of life, right?
It is.
I mean, it becomes a part of life.
Right. And that's why life's in our title for the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing you said that really hit home for me right at the beginning of your hockey journey, honestly, and hockey journey is, it like we said, it becomes a part of life, but a lot of times it is lifelong, right? I mean, hockey, like you said, not everybody can skate. There is a finite amount of time that you can spend on the ice throughout your life, given injuries, given all that. And we enjoy every minute that we can be on the ice, right? But for you, it started, at 12 years old, you immediately said you fell in love with it.
I knew it right away.
As soon as you did it. And that for me, that was that way with hockey at a young age, right? I started quite a bit, younger than yourself. And I, I'm glad I did, because for me, I don't know if the body would have figured out how to do it at 12 like it did for you.
I got real lucky.
Of people struggle with that, right?
Yeah. Well, look, where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, like when I say I loved it, it wasn't just I loved the sport, right? I was going home after school. I mean, I was a hermit to a lot of people. I went home after school. I was shooting pucks in my garage. At some point, maybe I did my homework, and then I'd have practice, and then a lot of nights. Look, I was the kid at the rink after practice with the lights off, and like I'll just say this: making a deal with the night manager that he would let me stay on the ice. So there were nights I'd be on the ice till 1 o'clock in the morning, right? But you can't. I would say this to young coaches and kids: you can't create that love. You can cultivate it, but I had that. And I think one of the big pivotal moments in my life is when I realized I could apply that work ethic to anything. It didn't just have to be on the ice. And that's how my body of work kind of expands. And you can see it in my late 20s. Suddenly, this kind of straight path of hockey really branched out in a lot of different things. I wish I had learned that lesson a lot earlier in life, right? Yeah. But no, look, when you know, and I knew it, whatever, 12, 13 years old, that like this is for me.
And I feel like for a lot of people listening, it's the same with pickleball, right? Yeah. We see this growth, largest growth in US sports in 2023, right? Those numbers just came out a couple weeks ago. Right. But where does that come from? For me, it was the same. I stepped on a court. I was on vacation visiting family in Florida, hit once, no tennis real background other than for fun. I loved it right away. Right. It was that immediate, but I loved it from a sense of I wanted to not only just at first, sure, I want to just go back out, hit on the court, get used to it. Right. This game that I never really had heard of much, or if I had heard of, I honestly just in one ear out the other been a little dismissive of it just because there was no opportunity. There wasn't a court around me in Michigan, growing up in Michigan. There wasn't any of that. So, it wasn't tennis courts being lined like we see now and things like that. So, I hear you say it was, immediate love and the passion and the dedication to it. And a lot of people that's the draw to pickleball right now too. And you mentioned from a growth side, anybody can jump out on a court. We have hybrid doubles being played, wheelchair players with able-bodied players. You have everything out there. The sport truly is for everybody. And anybody can find an opportunity to get out on a court. And the number of courts is growing. I mean, I know I'm on the road all the time. I'm in Minnesota a lot. I'm in Michigan a lot and everywhere else. you're, out closer to the East Coast, Philly area. Are you seeing a ton of courts pop up by
Oh
you? I
yeah.
mean, have you been out hitting quite a bit or what?
Well,
Have
I
you
can
been
tell
out
you
there?
my progression where I am in on this journey. I look in terms of courts. Yeah, in fact, our producer Caitlin came running in the office the other day and said that I found 5 courts at this park nearby, and this is a park very close, and I didn't even know they were there. So yeah, they're popping up everywhere, and I think for everybody listening, you can expect to see that happen wherever you are. They're going to continue to grow because it's so easy to lay down. Like you said, you can convert a tennis court or add on to a tennis court. Now where I'm at in my journey is interesting because I mostly hit with my kids, right? So obviously we have paddles at home, and I've been hitting back and forth with my kids. And what's going to happen now is this spring, my wife and my 2 kids and I are going to go over to the court and start playing as a family. And I thought that would be a really cool introduction for me and the family of, well, we're going to make this a family thing. And it might evolve from there. I know that, again, our producer Caitlin's been recruiting my wife to play in a league or a group. So that's going to be fun too. And what I love about it, buddy, this early on is yeah, you can see how it's going to become addicting very quickly. And I think what pickleball kind of really taps on for people is 2 things. One is I think that the availability and the opportunity for everyone to play. You said it. People disabled people, or however we say that now, people in wheelchairs, right? Can play. I can play. You can play. Elderly can play. Young people can play. So you have this massive ability for everyone to play, number one. And then number 2, and this is something we don't talk enough about in society and sports, the ability to be competitive, right? Like as I got older, I realized, man, I just love to compete. Right now, you got to be smart about that. Like you don't want to compete in your marriage, right? That's not where that's for,
Oh,
right?
don't worry. That'll be a whole nother podcast.
That's it.
Another
We'll have a
episode, playing
psychiatrist
with
on.
your spouse. We can
Yeah,
build
right.
on that
Yeah,
one.
I've seen some arguments, but already. But the point is, I love being competitive, but you want the environment where being competitive makes sense so you can compete. So when I still play hockey, one of the things I'm thankful for when I step off the ice, aside from the fact that I'm my age and I can still do it at a pretty high level, is I got to compete tonight, and I really love competing. Pickleball provides that for everyone, and the way the sport is played somewhat equals out the playing field. So that's really unique, right? Like when I think about ice hockey, if I couldn't skate, I don't think I would have played. I don't think I would have got into it. I don't think I would have fallen in love with it, right? So I had this
Yeah,
kind of innate ability within the sport that allowed that trajectory to happen. It was like a slingshot. Pickleball, you don't necessarily need that, right? You just need the will to compete, even if it's just for fun.
for
You
sure.
need
Yeah.
you need the drive to just want to get up and do it, right? Which I think most people have, believe it or not. And you need a friend. I mean, that's like a recipe for success in anything.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
All right. It's a
Yeah.
lot more fun than checkers. So you know what I mean? I can
Well,
see how it's going to take off.
and it is. I mean, we're both used to team sports, right? Hockey, team sport. Sure, you're training on your own. You're training with a friend, like you mentioned, whatnot. But we're used to team sports. Those coming from a tennis background, they're used to the individual side, the individual grind, everything they see on a day-to-day basis. It's like, for me, that was a draw to pickleball too, right?
Right.
I'm not going to lie. I love, now we have team aspects popping up of pickleball everywhere nationwide for those that are playing organized, skill based. And I mean, you're from just above beginner through the pro level. There's
Right.
major league pickleball, minor league pickleball, where you get the team environment. But at its core, pickleball is a doubles game,
Yeah.
a singles game for those looking for the workout. So for me, that was a draw too, right? Like you have that competition that you're talking about. You have that competition on a whole nother level, depending on how you want to take it. But you get to go back to the mental toughness too, of whether it's just a workout for you, whether you're competing at the pro level, whatever it is, you're pushing yourself, you're pushing
Right.
your body, and a little bit beyond just the team game side.
Yeah, and look, I'm at that point in my life, and I'm not complaining. But with the age I am, I'll tell you, I'm 40 years old. So again, I'm not complaining. It's just right in the middle, basically. You're starting to get to that point now where you use it or lose it, right? And when I get out there and I see someone 20, 30 years older than me competing, not only do I see obviously the opportunity there, but I see that, wow, stay active, right? You got to keep keep moving forward and staying active. And then again, as a younger person, I mean, the skill sets you'll build from playing this sport will help you in other sports. Like one of the things we say all the time in coaching, especially ice hockey, but this is true in all sports, you should be playing multiple sports. You should not be a one sport athlete as a youth athlete. It's actually a horrible thing to do, because the more sports you play, the more you will develop as an athlete. And I always tell parents, great athletes make it, right? And not that making it should ever be your goal, but you want to be a well-rounded athlete. So when I look at pickleball, and this is funny because I'll share some of my concerns, that again, our producer Caitlin's quelled many of them. You know, where I'm at in hockey and where I'm at with my body is, I don't want to roll an ankle. I don't want to get injured. I don't want to tear up an ACL, MCL by jumping into another sport now. And so many people have said, like, no, that's not going to happen here. Like the way this sport is played adapts to you in a way that's highly unlikely. I'll just say that. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I want to
go
go
how you want to push yourself, right?
Yeah. Like if I
where
went and played real tennis right now, like I'd probably tear something. You know what I mean? It's like, so there's that opportunity of it as well. But yeah, look, I think everyone needs, and this goes well beyond pickleball. You need something that motivates you to get up, to go to the gym, to go for that walk, to get out on the court, right? Like, and when you find something you love, it's very easy to get that will to get out of bed. I'm not telling you when you wake up at 5 a.m., people love it, but you get that will. No, I got to train. All right. I got to get to the gym. People are counting on me. I'm counting on me. I owe this to myself. And I think pickleball is such a great and immense opportunity and avenue for that, for people of all ages. Like I said, like I've watched the pro matches. I mean, these people are playing. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's pro.
Same with the senior pros. I mean, and I know we're growing our 20 by 44 pro team here and getting a lot of players on board.
Big time. I love watching that. That's pretty cool for me.
And we just, last weekend just finished the MPL combine. I'm not sure if you're even familiar with that league and all that, Lee, but that's a top pro team league that's out there, similar to, and someone's going to correct me here, but I'm going to say similar to an MLP type environment for the senior pros. We have Jim Bronson, who we just announced the signing, who took the win of the combine there for the first combine for NPL. But I bring that up because, senior pros, people hear champions pros or senior pros, similar lingo. What does that look like in pickleball? If you watch singles, you watch these guys and gals play singles or doubles. I mean, the speed, the lateral movement, the ability, it's there. It's no joke. And that's where those that are new to pickleball that haven't seen that are like, oh, it's pickleball. It's a slow game. It's this and that, but it speaks exactly what you're talking about. You can play, at whatever level you want to play at for your body and adapt, or you can push yourself, to that next level. If that's what you're looking for on and off the court, which relates exactly back to what you're talking about with hockey and that community aspect too, right? Like,
look, there's a place for everybody, right? And the community has been so warm and welcoming too, by the way. I mean, that's another thing I look for. Look, this hockey's not always like that.
No, you definitely not.
Yeah, you can find it, but if you end up at the wrong kind of level, it's not the most. That can be a little unwelcoming at times. Not to poo-poo on hockey. It's just that's the truth, right? But spinning this a little bit businessy too, buddy. One of the things I love about our business group is that, and we did this purposely. We brought in people with obviously different skill sets and different values to the business, but we purposely brought in people with different levels of pickleball experience, from extreme novice, which I would consider myself to be, all the way to professional, right? Because from a community aspect, if we're going to represent everyone in the pickleball community, we need to be representing everybody in the pickleball community internally, right? Like, so, our group has committed to me learning the game and understanding the game, and then our ability to share that, as much as we've committed to you as a pro and the pro people that we are signing, that's what we're creating. And I think the reason that we're signing these people is because of that aura, because of that, the stuff behind the brand. It's not just look at the fancy paddle and the name on it. It's like, no, we stand for something a lot larger than that. So I think that aspect is echoed here as well. And again, look, it's been a long time. And I think about all these sports that kind of pop up and go. It's been a really long time since I've seen someone go, you got to try this. You just got to try it. Like, you don't hear, if you really think about it, how often do you hear that? Like even when spike ball was like growing, no one's like, you got to try it. It's like
No,
this might not
it's
be for
there,
you.
and hey, come
Yeah.
do this. Once it's there, it's not a
Yeah.
hey, you have to go find a court. You have to go
Right.
find
I mean,
people that are
the
playing.
last thing I can think of where people are like, you got to try this was like Settlers of Catan, which is a board game, right? Like I don't,
Yep.
yeah, I think about things like that. Everyone going, you got to try this. How are you not going to dive into that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's your
Yep. No,
friends
it's
telling
true.
you.
And for those that are, again, for those that are out there listening for the first time to the podcast, those that haven't been on a pickleball court yet, check out 20x44.net. We finally launched our EL
Oh, it's
paddle.
awesome.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I say finally because we've put a lot of effort into it, right? This isn't just, Lee quickly mentioned there, this isn't just another paddle. We've tried to take the feedback, in a relatively short amount of time, getting a lot of feedback from a lot of players, beginners through pros, to kind of build a paddle that somewhat fits everyone's game. It's hard to say that in the pickleball world. It's hard to say that in the hockey world with a hockey stick. It's
Yeah,
not a
100%.
one fits all type mentality, but it's a great place to start as well for those that are just getting a paddle, and
Yeah.
you will be happy. I'll put it that way.
Well,
We've had a ton of
yeah,
positive feedback so far.
I'll dive in here too. You know, one of the reasons that and again, you and I know each other pretty well now, but when we were started, we didn't know each other that well. And so, I was really observing your process with the paddle. And, like with wraparound, we are really committed to making the highest quality product we can possibly make. Right. That is really important to us. It's not, this goes along with obviously the numbers, but we just don't put anything out if it's not to our standard. And I know our process for getting there. And again, for the consumer or the people listening, you don't see that process. You don't need to see that process. I just want people to know that we have a process, right? And when I'm not going to say you won me over, but one of the things that really impressed me about you was when we were looking at the initial paddles, how often you would say, no, this is not right. This has to be like this. We need this to be better. We need this to be better. And we just kept sending it back until we got really to where it was right. That was something I was willing to invest in and dive into, both time monetarily and professionally, because I could see that, no, there's a commitment here from everyone involved to make this right. Not to mention, man, you were educating me. Like, and this if you're listening to this, this should give you some idea of Brandon as a person. You're educating me of, no, this is why this aspect is important. This is why, the positioning of this is important. And so you've educated me. I mean, I probably know a lot more about paddles than most people now that play, right? Just from being in the business, which would
Yeah,
make sense,
spent
right?
time in it. Yeah.
Right. So it's like that's the kind of quality assurance in the product itself, in the education, and in the branding, right? That we're bringing to the table. And again, for those of you listening, this might sound like a little advertising. I'm not meaning it to be. Like, I'm just impressed with our process, and I'm excited to be a part of this, right? Because sure, it's the fastest growing game in the world or whatever, but the ability to build a community, bring people together. And for those of you who like research me a little bit, you'll see that that's really my kind of passion in life. That's really my life's work, is bringing people together and having them operate as a team and to accomplish amazing, marvelous things, right? And I can see that developing here.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to the whole community side of what we're trying to do, right? Like you say, a little addy, a little whatnot. It's really, for us, it's because we're trying to build the community, right? And a
Right.
lot of times in pickleball, in hockey and everything, we all become gearheads. We all become,
At some point, yeah.
stick crazy. We all become paddle crazy. A lot of people chase, like, what's the newest tech? What's the, newest this, newest that. For me in hockey, it was always, what's the lightest stick? I was
Right.
I was a weight guy, feel and weight. Right. So, and some of that you'll see through in our paddle, but that community is the community that's going out to play the game. And that's everyone's trying to figure out, do I go spend $20 on a paddle on Amazon that's wooden, or do I go here, or do I go that? And that really, I hate to say it, but the community is established now. It's growing, but it's established. So I can tell you, and this is actually a funny story. I've never told you this, Lee, and it's a short, quick one, but I was in Florida, second time I was playing after I picked it up. I'm playing with, and I won't name the brand of a paddle, but I'm playing with a brand of paddle that was by no means a high level player's paddle, right? It also had a price tag that was not a high level player's price tag.
Right.
I went out there, I'm playing with my aunt who got me into the sport to begin with. My wife's standing in the sidelines, I think watching at this point, right? And she plays professionally now as well. So I was getting coaching already afterwards, the right way from her through each thing. But we ended up winning. I don't even know the score, but we ended up winning pretty big. It was a lopsided. And these players we were playing against, a little bit older, had been playing for a while, but very athletic. But, I was new to the game. Anyway, after the game, the first thing the guy says to me is, I didn't even think you could play that well. What are you doing with the beginner paddle? What are you doing with it? I'm like, okay, what does that even mean? I had no idea what that meant to me. What we're trying to do is we have a paddle priced at a point that's for everybody. We have a product that's for everybody, but and this is something I had in mind as we were going through this process. Why do we need that separation of, oh, well, that person just can't play because, I see what they're holding in their hand. And if I was there without somebody that knew these individuals, that knew the court, that were a part of their 20 by 44 life community there in that complex in Florida, I would have never got the chance to play. And I'm not trying to steer anybody away that, like pickleball at times can be a little bit that way. But for those that have been a part of it, it is a community. There are going to be naysayers. There are going to be people that
is ego.
There is ego. Perfect.
Yeah.
Way to put it. So I say that because, we're trying to come up with something that everyone's going to see and be like, at first, what is that? What is 20 by 44 paddle? But then you're not going to see that, oh, well, that's a beginner, that's a pro, that's a this or that. Okay. Oh, hey, that person can play once they see you play, or whatever the case may be.
Well, I'll tell you a funny statement. And this is such a cool value proposition to everybody that we haven't discussed this before, but you're making me realize it. So in hockey, when I coach hockey, look, there is a significant difference between high-end sticks and low-end sticks, but I will tell every hockey player, the player makes the stick. All right. Yep. I can put a really high-end stick in a player that's not that good. You're still not going to be good. Your shot might be a little faster.
Very true.
Yeah, you might feel a little better, but it's not the stick, right? You don't go out and score 50 more goals because of the stick you have. But, and this is a problem in hockey, everyone should have an opportunity to have a good hockey stick. That's my belief, right? And that's one of the problems in hockey is we price people out of the sport. So when it comes to pickleball and with 20 by 44, everyone should have the opportunity to have a high-end paddle, right? Because the player makes the paddle, all right? And so when you look at our brand and you look at our community, this is why we are as equally focused on the player as we are on the product, because the player makes the paddle, right? So I want you to have a high-end paddle, but I want you to feel good with it. I also want you to know that there's no paddle that's going to guarantee you a victory, right? If you go out there if I gave any pro a $15 wooden paddle and put them up against an amateur, they're going to win. That's just the way sports works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But everyone should have the opportunity to have a really good paddle priced at the right point. Again, this is all part of the aura that we're trying to create here, but understand that the commitment from us is also to the player. The player makes the paddle. And, I won't say the paddle makes the player. That doesn't sound right.
No,
right. But it's true, right? And you just said it in your story here, right? And again, I'm not devaluing our product. Our product is extremely high value, extremely great, right? But someone's got to hold it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things we're focused on.
And I mean, building off that, focusing on that as well. One thing I kind of wanted to ask you, and last kind of realm I wanted to dive down with you really is your background a lot, building on the player, building on the community. Mm-hmm. For those that don't already follow some of your social media channels and Our Kids Play Hockey podcast, if they haven't listened in on that, or your personal social media accounts as well, you are a coach. You are a mental toughness coach as well, mental strength coach, a lot in the hockey realm, but it's relevant sports in general.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I've been all over the place with that.
Yeah. And I know, and you can, tell us a little bit more about that. But my question is how do you see that, or what specific aspects the most? Just in a little bit you've been on court. I know you played with your kids a lot too. But what do you see the most carryover in? Because we've talked about injuries and things like that not being as prevalent, but there are still injuries in pickleball for those that are pushing to that very high competitive level. Sure. And sometimes that can be I don't want to get back out on the court or this or that. If you do encounter something like that, and I'm sure some of our listeners have. So just what carryover do you really see between those two realms?
Yeah, well, look, I'll start with a few things. When I play with my kids, the smiles on their face, are enough to pay it forward. But the determination I see on their face too to want to get better and to want to improve, that is universal, right? Whether it's on the ice, off the ice, in school, in school, I'm sorry, in college or anywhere else. From a team building standpoint, look, these are universal truths to me. Every one of us needs three things personally. You need a purpose, you need an identity, and you need a community. And they can shift through time, they can change throughout your life, but you need those three things. If you lose one of those three things, you're going to start to dip. If you lose all of those things, you're actually in a pretty dangerous place mentally, right? So when I look at pickleball or sports in general, my passion from a mental development side, from a culture development side, is the belief in the team to accomplish the extraordinary. And I think as a society, we are really losing faith in that for multiple reasons. So I've made the commitment to look for groups that want that. And I go in and I work with them. And this is in the business realm, the professional realm, the sports realm. I've worked with doctors, I've worked with schools, I've worked with financial institutions, and then adversely, hockey teams, football teams, basketball teams. Because it's universal, the drive to work with each other. So when I apply that to pickleball, let's just use your example. Maybe somebody did get hurt and is a little afraid to come back. That community aspect is so important to saying, you can do it. I believe in you. You can do this, right? Let me help you with your recovery, which inadvertently creates more purpose and identity as well, right? But when I look at pickleball, I can see that. I can see that across the board. You need a reason to get up. Look, in hockey, man, the amount of injuries I sustained, every one of us, right, in that game, you sustain a lot of injuries in hockey. You get out there for the team, or higher level, man. The stuff I would play through in the playoffs, I mean, serious injuries that I would play through. Like, and the attitude was, if I can move, I can play.
Yep.
All right.
We've been there.
Yeah. No, it's like, look, if my leg's not working, I can't play. All right. But the pain never stopped me from playing or getting out there for my teammates or being tired. Just, you got to get out there. You got to fight for your brothers and sisters in some cases. I mean, what the lessons that's taught me in my life about perseverance. And again, look, I'm not going to go on a tangent here too, but like my anchor in teamwork is the military, right? What those men and women go through to accomplish the mission. Sometimes that being the ultimate sacrifice makes it really easy in hockey to say you can get out there and do your job.
Yeah, perspective, right? Perspective's everything.
All perspective, right? And and again, this is kind of like my big note on your question is that the pickleball community is so bright and vibrant and beautiful, and we need that right now. Like from a team building aspect, a culture building aspect, when I see the ability or the environment is a better word, where all these people can come together and enjoy something together, that is so important. I mean, look, man, we're just a few years removed from a global pandemic that for some reason we don't speak about it. We don't talk about it. Like we joke about COVID a couple years ago, a few years. I mean, this was a traumatic event for the planet.
Yeah.
For humans on the planet, right? Save the people.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, these things are really important, that we can come together and talk to someone in person. And like you said, ego stuff aside, not be judgmental on someone who's a beginner, but hey, help them out, right? Learn, right? It's okay that you're not great at this. You will be, right? We'll get you there. We'll work together. There's someone you can play against. That is so important. So along with the diving into the business for the obvious pickleball aspects of it, that's the other thing that I see. I'm investing in that too, right? Because that's good for people. That's good for mankind. And again, for those of you listening who don't know me, this may sound kind of grandiose, but as Brandon said, if you look at any of my work, this is some stuff I talk about all the time. I really believe in what I'm talking about, right? I always finish all of my videos with, I believe in you. You should too, right? Yeah. Pickleball is a place where that can happen. Man, there's a lot of P words when you say pickle. Pickleball is a place where this is possible for people to progress.
We're just gonna keep building it. We're gonna need notes here to go through this.
Hyperbole.
Where they all are. Oh, and that's so true though. And that's I've listened and watched quite a bit of your stuff as well. And honestly, it motivates me. Like I've been through the hockey realm and a lot of different motivational speakers, coaches, I mean, everything, team psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever you want to call it, whatever role they're serving that day.
Find your spirit animal.
Yes. A lot of different realms, a lot of different books I've been told to read as a hockey player, right? Like all that homework that you do off the ice as a hockey player growing up from, mini mite level, Timbit level, whatever it's called, all the way to, and but you're spot on. It's the community, right? And I think that's you've seen that in a short amount of time. I
saw it immediately. I mean, that was immediate. I mean, it's like when you go to Disney World the first time. Like, here's a funny quick story. The first time I went to Disney World, I was actually in my 20s, and I'm coming from North New Jersey at that time, which is a pretty aggressive place. From a community aspect, it's the insulting is like the way of saying I love you up there. I remember going to Disney the first time, and everyone at Disney is very nice. And I remember someone said to me, "Hey, can I take a picture of you and your girlfriend, now my wife?" Now, I remember my first thought was like, "What are you going to steal my camera? Like, what do you want what are you doing? Why are you here?" And I remember by like the end of the first day, realizing, no, everyone here is really just that nice.
Yeah.
They say it's the happiest place on earth, right? And I remember after that trip being like, man, I feel pretty good about myself, and like, not that pickleball is Disney World or Disneyland, but it's a similar vibe, right? It's just kind of like, hey, come on, everybody, let's go play some pickleball.
That was a good voice impersonation there.
You have no idea how much I use that Mickey Mouse. Let me tell you this: the 8-year-old hockey players love when I do that on the bench. All right, but that was a freebie. Okay. If you want to see, you have to come out to the bench with me.
Coming to a pickleball court near you soon.
We could have some fun with that. Take kitchen, huh? Gosh, Mickey. No, okay, we won't go too far down there.
We might have a future of Mickey voiced pickleball tutorials.
Oh man,
you never know.
How did you guys go viral? Well, it's a funny question. You should ask. We have Mickey Mouse on board. We signed him. He's a pro pickleball player with 20x44.
Don't wait too long for that announcement, but you never know here.
Hold your breath.
But no, Lee, I appreciate you joining us today. I appreciate you going through some of your background and history too. And yeah, for those listening in, 20x44.net, you can check out the paddle, check out our podcast, any, breaking news that we have there, as well as our social media channels at 2044 Life. But yeah, Lee, anything you want to leave the listeners and viewers with?
Look, just that we'd love for you to be part of our community. For those of you that are experienced, I'm all ears to learn more about this. And again, we want this to be a two-way communication. So communicate with us, ask questions, ask concerns, right? Let us know where you're at on this journey, because that's all part of what we're trying to build, right? And when it comes to the paddle itself, if you have one, let us know what you think. Like, we're going to improve on this. We want people to be on that journey. And we're pricing it at a point where you can afford to be part of that journey, right? So look, I'm so excited, thankful to be part of this process, to be part of this business. It has been such a joy to get to know you, and how professional you are in many different ways. But this is like a team I want to be on, right? And I guess it's weird from an ownership standpoint. Like, yeah, I'm on the team, but like, I'm excited to be on the team. I'm thankful to be on the team. You know what I mean? So that's how we look at it, and that's how you can all look at it out there too.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining 20x44 Life. Appreciate it, Lee.
Thank you, buddy.